Did you know that 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the time they're 35? It's true. More than 50 million men in the US suffer from male pattern baldness. And there's something to do about it. It's Keeps. Keeps offers a simple, stress-free way to keep your hair. They've got convenient virtual doctor consultations and medications that are delivered straight to your door every 3 months. You don't even have to leave your home. It's low cost. Treatments start at just $10 a month. And Keeps offers generic versions of the same quality ingredients that are out there, proven to work. Discreet packaging, proven results. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/bomb to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/bomb to get your first month for free. keeps.com/bomb. This episode is brought to you by Unleash with the Dingo and Danny. A new podcast fueled by Monster Energy. What? Can't. They don't want me to. All right, fine. Unleash gets up close and personal with the best in alternative action and motorsports. Get ready for untold stories, career-defining moments, and inside secrets from the world's best athletes and trailblazers. Don't miss out on all the action. New episodes drop every 2 weeks on Mondays. Listen wherever you get your podcasts or watch on Monster Energy's YouTube. Unleash with Danny and the Dingo, fueled by Monster Energy. What's going on, everybody? Is the Giant Bombcast for June 29th, the final podcast for June 2021. Oh gosh, that's a very momentous occasion. Finally here to celebrate it.
We're here.
I'm Jeff Gerstmann, joined by special guest Jeff Grubb. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm glad that you finally met the Jeff threshold finally, and we can move on from this terrible nightmare of not enough Jeffs.
So there's still a few slots here that I think we could probably.
I didn't want to say anything.
Yes, particularly the ones at the bottom.
Yeah,
who are not Jeff.
What's Jeff Cork doing these days? I know Jeff Green's consulting. Like maybe there's some.
I was on Jeff Kanata's show. He said he seemed open to it. He seemed open. So
all right.
Yes,
all right.
We've heard of that, Jeff.
Those are all J's, right? Those are all, we don't have to go to the bottom of the barrel to get Keely.
No,
that's bring up that spelling. It's a sensitive topic. Yes, come on. He's not invited to the meetings.
That's like a Toys R Us marketing guy came up with that spelling. That's no one actually uses that. Jeff Bacalar, what were your parents going to name you if they didn't name you Jeff?
They always tell me that I'd be Jessica, if not, Jeff,
Jeffica.
But that's about it. Jeffica then became a thing for a brief part of my life. That's about it, though. I don't know anything else. All I know is that if you tell your child a lot that they wanted to name you a different name this whole time, it starts to confuse and perhaps upset them as they grow later on in life. Just a tip for the new parents out there.
My mom calls me Jep a lot, and no one knows why. And I'm like convinced that she almost wanted to name me Geppetto, and this is like her way of like getting in there. I don't get what that's about, but Jep is my nickname for her. So yeah.
Yeah,
interesting.
I was about to ask if your mom was part Filipino.
No,
and that's why she didn't pronounce F's.
Yeah. Jan Choa is here as well. How you doing?
That's me. My family used to call me OJ for the longest time, and I think I've mentioned this. And then my one uncle, who's kind of a jerk, said, "Oh, it's because you liked orange juice so much, not because of whatever reasons it wound up being." Very confusing to be watching the O.J. Simpson murder trial as a child, though.
Yeah,
because I was like, is it me?
Yeah,
but thankfully it wasn't.
They're looking for you.
They were looking for like a 2
when he
3-year-old.
says we're going to find the real killers, I think you know, he's going to kick down the door one of these days. And
that was my nickname my whole life until a very specific moment. It stopped being my nickname.
Yeah, there's probably a handful of those over the years. Really? Danny O'Dwyer, fresh off of the heels of watching footy?
Yeah. Watching England, finally. They did it. They beat Germany. They have restored their national pride. I don't know. They're pretty jazzed about it. Congratulations to all of England for defeating the Germans again for the first time.
Yeah. Everything's good now.
Years.
Yeah.
Finally.
Football's coming home.
I didn't take any of these emails, but this week we got, I'm going to say, no fewer than 5 emails from people, whether they were from Wales or Ireland, just saying fuck England. So the beef is alive.
Yeah, the beef. It's a real. That's why that's why they call me Beef O'Brady, because I have tried very hard.
Zone, is one of the new shows coming to John Palm.
Yeah, where I just
I can't
dunk on all of our people. No, exactly. You'll manifest it into creation. You don't need the Irish guy talking about. We didn't even make it into the tournament, so who am I to say anything about the performance of any team? Congratulations.
You're allowed to. I feel like most soccer fans take that liberty. Sorry,
England
football fans.
Nobody wants England to ever win any game except for England fans. This is the cost of imperialism and exporting their sport to the rest of the world, is that nobody else ever wants England to win. And we probably all take quite a decent amount of pleasure in that. So I'm
the one major cost of imperialism is this thing right here. Yes, exactly.
It is. If your national identity,
the second major cost is Eurovision voting, right? I mean,
right? Yeah.
Actually, that kind of helps, because if you're a modern imperialist country, then you get all those Eastern Bloc countries who are all like voting for each other. You know, they're kind of like wink, wink, hammer, sickle. Let's we're gonna win this one. Democracy, eh? Wink, wink, and leaves the rest of us in the lurch. So in that respect, us and England actually have a lot in common in terms of our Eurovision success in contemporary years.
Fantastic. There were 4 kids in the middle of my street last night. I think they were trying to play rugby. I don't know what they were doing. They were two on a side. They were like kicking the football at each other and trying to hit each other with it.
Sick. Rugby, you're trying to hold on to the ball as much as possible.
Well, they were like holding it. I don't. For a second, I was like, are you inventing a new type of cricket? And then I just because I was taking out the garbage, so I didn't want to stop and stare and be like, what the fuck are you guys doing? But
where would the 2 be in cricket 2? It'd be like the replace the R, right? Kutu ricket,
cricket, yeah. And
did you ever make up sports? Remember those long summers where you were just bored?
All the time, baby.
Yeah, variant.
What? Sake.
Sake? What's sake?
Yes,
no, that's a drink.
It's like a rice wine.
Well, yes, not Saki. Sake, like soccer, hockey, where you could kick. Well, it's cold.
Those are the same thing. You might as well be like, and it's also lacrosse. Like what?
No, because the game can only be played in basements, in carpeted basements.
Got it. Okay.
And you have all players on their knees. And it's, and, you basically have a goalie with a stick who has a goal stick, but everyone else can either kick or slap the ball. You don't want to give sticks to everybody, because then you just have like a total slash fest on your hands, and then you got
too much
broken fingers
in the wall.
And I mean, believe me, there are plenty of holes in that weak ass sheetrock, but sake. That's that. I grew up on it. It's what turned me into the person I am today. Got hardened on sake. Yeah, that's him. Yeah,
I've learned so much.
Yeah, well, that's the. I got my number hanging in the rafters there.
The Sake Hall of Fame,
the basement.
I'm in the hall.
Good concussion protocol there in sake, I'm sure. Yeah,
absolutely. It's sort of like, you all right? Yep. Come on back.
Kind of a full contact on the knees there. Just
because when you're like 14 and 15, your knees can just take that thrashing. Like it doesn't matter. If I tried to do this now, I feel like I would bleed almost instantaneously.
From your knees, or
from just like knees, elbows. Like I watch my kid do. He does it. He doesn't know he's doing it. He does it, but his knees, you know, they're pure. They haven't been roughened up just yet. He'll get there. He'll get there.
Wow, that's
Like,
amazing.
that's sake. That's sake.
Sake is so ingrained in your DNA of your household that your son has learned it without even having to like be taught.
Osmosis,
like a bird.
yeah. Just
like
gets
a
it through the
fish.
DNA. It's a DNA memory chain.
Yeah.
I'm looking in the chat. Everyone's like, I have played this game before, so I'm not. And the goal is not a real goal. You have to use some sort of table that exists in the house with 4 legs, and then you cushion off the sides to give you the entrap sort of goal. So in my house growing up, it was an old like miniature billiards table. It's the perfect
So it
sake
changes.
goal.
It's like a baseball field. It's like the dimensions
Exactly.
aren't standard.
Hence the home court advantage, depending on where you were playing.
The tiny pool table. That's
It evolved over the years. Like we would add rules where like if you shot the ball beyond a certain area that was taped off, you got 2 goals instead of 1. The goalie could then earn goals back by like hitting targets. It's a great game. You know, one day we'll do the quick run. You know,
we'll have
look
to
at
read
it.
the well written out and very well archived rules of the game and figure that out. I would have thought that you would have gone to more of a tipped over laundry basket as goal sort of thing.
Oh,
Maybe
no,
that's too
you need
small.
more
Good
of that
call,
action. Yeah, that's
Okay, I see. Yeah, more action.
more action.
Well, I do like action, and that's we are in the process of bringing some action to GiantBomb.com, and we are here to talk about and announce our first couple of shows. As you might have surmised, one of them is coming from Jeff Grubb.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I didn't just sneak on the show for no reason. I'm gonna do grub snacks. I think is what we're gonna call this thing.
So
Okay,
good.
sure. That's why not.
So good.
I mean,
Yeah.
Can I show
listen,
the logo? Can I show
Yeah,
the
show
logo?
the logo.
Can
and
you
listen, Phil.
please? I
P-Tibbs, if you
desperately want people to see that.
you want to fight about?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, if you want to
wanna
fight about it,
fight
we can settle this. We can settle this. I meant to actually
Destiny 2.
DM and ask, say, hey, is this cool? I guess we could still do that. But listen, it's Grub Snacks. It's going to be kind of a new show where I talk to the audience. I'll probably come with some try to bring some new news each week, or at least talk about the big topic. And I'm very passionate about explaining why stuff is happening and why these companies make decisions that they make. So I'll try to come at it from that angle. And then I'll take questions. So the people seem to have a lot of questions about what is happening, what's coming next. People seem to prefer it over actually playing video games sometimes. And hey, listen, I'm not here to shame anybody. It's going to make a show, so I'm okay with it. But yeah, we're going to start this Thursday, and I hope people tune in. I think the first episode's going to be free, right? It's going to be open for everybody, but it'll be on giantbomb.com/chat. Is that the best place to
Right
get
here,
it?
the same page people are watching this right here. This will be a live show. Yeah, news has been, I obviously over the years, I think like news about games and how it gets out there and how people talk about it has evolved.
Yes.
I'm thinking like back in the day, like the pre-Kotaku days, it was like very much like, okay, this is a company handing you a press release and that's the news. And when you found stuff out, it was a news team contacting the company and being like, tell me more about this and parlaying that into some kind of exclusive or something like that. Whereas now between social media and everything, like it feels like a much more wild and woolly world. Jeff Grubb, you have found your name popping up in a lot of different news stories over the last year or so, be it for a Dead Space reboot or a lot of Starfield stuff over the past couple of months here. How do these things work these days? I mean, I feel like I roughly know, but like I'm not asking, hey, who are your sources or anything like that, but
I am. Oh,
Yeah.
never mind. Sorry.
Tell me, God, there we go. Here we go.
But like, there's been just a lot of different variants of the like rumor mill stuff
Absolutely.
on the internet over the years. And nowadays it seems like the Switch Pro thing's probably a really good example recently, where you had a lot of people that had like some cachet as like being like, I am a leaker, I leak things and I do this and I'm accurate with this Nintendo news. Everyone seemed very certain about the Switch Pro news getting announced ahead of E3 and all this other stuff. what does that landscape look like, and how does that stuff happen?
Yeah, I think there was that period between like what you described in like the early days, and I grew up reading like Quarterman and EGM or whatever, and so there was always like this thirst for rumors and for leaks and stuff like that. But I think for a big period there, it was like the friend DA zone where people would hear stuff and wouldn't be able to talk about it. And I think what's happened recently, what's happened for me is, you know, I'm in a situation where the people I talk to understand that. You know, I want to be able to report the stuff out there and get it out there for people to hear it. And, you know, if that's okay with you, then we'll do that. If it's not okay, just let me know. But I think the weird thing that's happened is I think a lot of people got an idea in their head about what gaming news should specifically be. And I think it's happened mostly because of Jason Schreier's made it seem like, hey, we're going to tell stories about what's happening to developers. And I thought that's what it was, too, for a very long time. Like, that's what I should be trying to do. But it's actually people might not know this, very hard to compete with Jason Schreier on those stories. And so I tried to like step back and look at it and say, you know, is there another audience I could be speaking to? And it turns out there is a big, thirsty audience for just speak to us about what's going to happen next. And even if it's just in vague terms about when we're going to hear about these things, people really appreciate that. And that's actually the thing that really kind of, I think, propelled me is I was just providing a simple calendar with some leaked dates for some events, and people appreciated that. And I think the difference was really realizing that when I'm writing or when I'm speaking to an audience on a podcast, that I am talking to, I'm writing for the readers and I'm not writing for the developers. And that's been the writing that line has been difficult because the developers and publishers got used to a certain relationship where they could expect us to sit on a lot of this stuff. But and that's, you know, and I don't necessarily always want to spoil everything. Like the Dead Space thing, I was very much trying to talk around that. We didn't even say the name. It was so weird that game name was trending that weekend after we mentioned it on the podcast. But you know, at a certain point, once it's out there and everybody's talking about it and everyone seems to know, like, you know, you mentioned last week the exact same thing that I heard. It's a reboot. It's a reboot that's going to be kind of along the lines of, I think people are going to see it and they're going to be like, oh, they're kind of doing the Resident Evil 2 remake thing. That's what I expect people to say when they see this thing. And so, but when it comes to like actually conveying this information to people, it is trying to respect that there are people who are working hard to provide a fun experience to when these games do get announced, and not necessarily just trying to sweep the legs out from under them every single time, but also recognizing that that's not my audience. Keeping the developers and publishers happy is not my responsibility. I am speaking to a different audience, and it's okay to prioritize them. And also, I think we saw with Microsoft at E3 that these companies are very good at still executing, even when people seem to know their entire lineup. We kind of mostly knew exactly what they were going to talk about at E3, and yet they still impressed because of the execution. And so it's like they could still nail that side of it. And just because people know about Dead Space doesn't mean that's not going to be a very exciting moment when that happens. And so it's just taking all those things into consideration, trying to make sure that people are also kind of having a good time. That's kind of one thing that I've realized that people also appreciate. It's like it's video games. We can kind of make it fun. We can kind of focus on the fun side of stuff, and there's plenty of room for a different kind of reporting. And I think there's more room for this reporting right now than ever. And it is weird to get lumped in with the leakers, where it's like, you know, Jeff Grubb is a leaker, or the leaker Jeff Grubb, frequent leaker. I think
you kind of get lumped in with some of those folks sometimes. But I mean, you're a reporter, and your day job is literally in the news, like that's all that stuff. So yeah. So it's weird to to be in there and kind of be lumped in with everyone else there, and kind of not have people really understand what the job is. But again, that's not their responsibility to understand my job. That's on me. And really, it's just trying to walk those lines and make sure that make sure it's also kind of just feels like I'm putting out the stories out there that will either help people understand the industry or will kind of explain, like with the Dead Space thing, there's multiple sides to that. Like, why are they going back to Dead Space? Why not Mirror's Edge? Well, Mirror's Edge, they did a sequel and they felt really burned by it because people kept saying, hey, we really want this game. And people didn't buy it enough. And EA really that's one of the big reasons they backed off of single player games, is because of that game. And so there's a story there. There's a reason why these companies are making these decisions. Why now are they going back to Dead Space? And I think they looked at Capcom and seen them have a lot of success and saying, why are we missing out on that? So it's not always just about spoiling things. It's really trying to explain what's happening in the industry. And I just find it fun. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's important. I think that's something we've tried to do over the years, is try to give people a somewhat deeper understanding. And you have people that will listen to it and understand that, and you have people who will not. And at some point I let go of like, okay, you can't hold everyone's hand all the time. Some people are just going to get mad no matter what and be like, oh, you're saying this to bury, you're just trying to bury the PlayStation somehow. I'm doing this. Like, I don't, but
yeah, that Starfield thing where it was like, it's not coming to PlayStation. Like, I tried to explain the reasoning behind that. Like, Microsoft definitely considered a lot of different options. People say, oh, they spent $7.5 billion. They're definitely going to make this stuff exclusive. And they absolutely considered, they sent, they have like thousands of employees. They have people that are like, hey, can you go look at what would happen if we made this, release these games on PlayStation as opposed to keeping them all exclusive? What would happen? They ran all the numbers. They looked at it and they said, hey, it's going to be worth the money if we keep this exclusive because of what it will do for Game Pass. It's just the stuff that makes sense. But Microsoft absolutely considered that stuff. And, you try to explain that side of it and people only hear the one thing, oh, it's not coming to PlayStation. And but there are people that want to hear the why, and they show up consistently for, like when I'm doing my work. And so keep just writing for them. And so far it's going good.
Cool. Well, we will be bringing a chunk of that to Giant Bomb Premium members every Thursday on Thursdays here. And I am excited. I'll be in that chat going like, why do you hate video games?
Where's Starfield, liar?
Why don't you leak screenshots of Starfield? I know you have it. All that stuff. Yeah.
That's how we're going to treat you,
You
Jeff.
keep asking me about Karnov and I'll be happy. And we'll like build that buzz.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I want Microsoft running the numbers on what a Karnov reboot looks like. I think you have to go out and acquire it from, I guess Gmode would own it now, and like figuring out like, okay, how do we make a Karnov versus Mr. Do sort of thing.
Do the real work.
Yeah, I mean, they keep talking about, like, I think it was just this last week, they were like, we want to bring back Killer Instinct. It's just waiting for the right time. I'm like, well, just start with guest characters. I mean, go get a Karnov, go get a Mr. Do.
There you go.
You're done.
Mm-hmm.
Put Iron Galaxy on it. They made that last one. They finished that last one. They would do good. Danny O'Dwyer also here. We've got another announcement of new programming.
I just want to say right off the bat, the names are nowhere near as good as Grubs. Jeez Louise.
Well, young horses are out there on Twitter.
Yeah, they're upset because we officially don't know who came up with the name. They've think we're
a Drew
going
Scanlon
with.
image on the internet here, so we'll have to,
which is as good as a lawsuit, right? So
I think now we're even, since that's our IP that they're using.
There you go.
Right. Yes. So there you go.
Even.
Perfect. Yes. So Danny, let's talk about it.
Sure.
Let's get into it.
You
were on Twitter yesterday.
You've got
talking about you and Timur, these old photos. I heard that I just saw an article today that jean shorts were coming back. So these
they never went away.
Well, yeah, that's I got rid of most of mine, and
no. She sold it. It's like Bitcoin. You sold it at the wrong time. You should have been hoarding those. Timur still has the shirt that he was wearing, which is impressive.
No way.
Because he's about half the size. That man has gone through some. He's done the glow up. People were like, "Man, I can't believe I don't even recognize Timur." And they're like, "Oh yeah, Danny, you look like the same dirtbag you always were." So
really, they just say dirtbag.
Nice to know I'm consistent. I'm editorializing, but that's what I saw. That's what they read.
Yeah,
that's what I saw. I couldn't do. I wanted to do one show that was did a lot of cool like camera work and filmed in person and reminded me of like the early days of Giant Bomb where you guys were sort of like guerrilla recording and covering weird games and stuff. But I also knew I couldn't do that on like a weekly basis. So I've got two shows, one that's sort of like lower production and it'll be 3 weeks on with that one. And then on the fourth week, it'll be the other show, which is high production, and then back to the other one. So it's kind of like, once a month for one of them and 3 times a month for the other, basically. The one I'm doing with Timur is riffing off of the other favorite shows that I loved on Giant Bomb, which have been the endurance runs. It's not a classic endurance run. The title of the show has it in it though. We're calling it Born to Run, and it's not a Bloodborne playthrough or endurance run. I mean, Jan literally did that during quarantine. It would be ridiculous to go back.
I did it very poorly.
You did, I thought you finished it, which is the most important thing. It's not Bloodborne, it's Soulsborne. So it's an endurance run in the fact that we are going to play, upwards of 5, I guess, probably by the time we're doing this, 6 games, myself and Timur going through them. And it's kind of like a spiritual successor to Endurance Run, because it's not daily. It's not the sort of like daily grind that you guys did on so many of those games. Obviously, it's sort of like every week. And we're also going to we're going to strategize it. So the idea is that there are a lot of people who have never played these games, and there are a lot of people who will never. Like that ship has sailed for them. So what we want to do is basically do a playthrough. I'm green to a lot of these games. I've only completed Bloodborne, and I've done half of Demon Souls. I've never played Dark Souls 2, 3, or Sekiro. And I've done a little bit of Dark Souls Remastered, whereas Timur knows them all. So I'm playing. I'm going to try and complete all of them. Timur is sitting in the seat. He's basically going to be nudging me in directions, and the two of us are sort of explaining how the game works. And then each episode will be a truncated version of the full playthrough. It won't be raw. We're actually editing them a bit. If it takes me 12 attempts to kill Maneater, we won't have you sit through the 12 attempts. It's going to be edited down.
Just maybe the deaths. Just
sort of
exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to keep in, as Timur said, we're going to keep in the bants and the deaths. So plenty of banter and plenty of me dying. So it's a blast, and it's an excuse for me and Timur. I mean, we had a podcast together like 13 years ago. He used to come over to my apartment in London, and we used to do playthroughs and stuff. And we kind of missed each other at GameSpot. Like, he was at GameSpot before me, and then at a different after me as well in the UK, and then here. So I'm just really happy to be able to sit down and play with Timur again. And the first episode will be going up on Monday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Ooh.
Very in the cat.
He really does still have this shirt, huh?
He does. I did a little detective work, apparently so.
And should I tell about the other one?
Yeah,
sure.
Whatever,
yeah.
I mean, we don't necessarily have to give it all away here, but yeah, it's some details. Let's hear a little bit about it.
So the other one is basically a show, kind of in the no clip, like documentary style, kind of like our show Greatest Hits over there, where it's kind of an investigation into a game. But I'm not going to be picking the games. You guys are going to be picking the games. So each episode, I'm going to focus on one duder, and then eventually I'm sure we'll cover you all off, and we'll have to talk to friends of Giant Bomb. But one of you is going to be the focus. Gersman, you're very graciously put your hand up for episode 1. Yeah. And we're going to focus on, the idea is to focus on a game that you love, but never got sort of mainstream attention or love. Chances are this is a game I've never played. So you're going to pitch it to me at the start. I'm going to go away and do the research. We're going to film the boxes. We're going to do like the whole like treatment to it. And then at the end, I'm going to go interview in person you and basically like take all that I have learned about the game and sort of make you justify why this game should have sort of gotten more love or why it means a lot to you. It's called Guilty Treasures, and the first episode will be up at the end of this month. And you've picked the game, and it's a real like question marker for me. And I did some research, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
For the first episode, I was like, "This might be too like this might be too old for the footage to be dynamic enough, or this might be like I was just like trying to picture it, but I was like, no, this is a game that jumps out to me. This is a game I still probably play once a year, if not more. And it's I don't know. It's an offbeat game that I don't necessarily think is an amazing video game, but I love it. So it's I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to someone else who has played it, because I never have.
So, oh wow, okay, that's awesome. That's the most important thing, is that people that weren't, I wanted it to be like games people are really excited to talk about, because it's like, because the thing is, like, I could have easily done a show where it was like, tell me about your favorite game, or we could go genre by genre, but it's 2011, it's not 2011, it's 2021 on the internet now. everyone's talked about all the great games. So how are we going to make a show that is about like your guys' love for games and also like kind of games that don't usually get this type of treatment? So it's going to be fun to see what people pick because some games are going to be way more idiosyncratic than others, I guess. And the one we're starting off with is like a real. I'm looking forward to the challenge on this one. I think it's going to be like people are going to be like, what is that game? I think for a lot of folks.
Yeah, it'll be a what, and then followed up with a why. What? Okay. Yeah.
So it should be fun.
Awesome.
Looking forward to
Awesome.
filming.
For the
Danny,
folks
can I-
speculating in chat live now, I am not going to pick the bouncer. There.
Okay.
Danny,
I think
can
your
I pitch an
episode too as
addendum
well.
show?
what?
Maybe do
An
an
addendum
addendum. Yeah, like an offshoot of this. Like make a live broadcast where you put the game in a box and make chat like guess what it is before you actually do the thing. I think
Ooh.
it just builds tension and people will be like want to know it so bad that by the time you do the show, people will be so invested that they'll have to watch.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
I
what's
love
in
it.
there. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. So
And then it gets revealed on Grub Snacks.
It gets
Here we go.
I'll leak it. I'll
Whoa.
leak it. Yeah.
Yes.
we can have it like
There we
slightly
go.
out of focus. Like I'll have a camera with a focus ring that is out of focus by a lot, and over the course of a week, it slowly becomes
Yeah.
more in focus. Yeah.
Yeah, people be like tearing themselves apart to figure out what it is. I
They'll
agree.
just be in the corner of Giant Bomb Infinite for a week, just slowly.
There you go.
Actually, I don't know that we have the tech to do that. Awesome.
But yeah,
Awesome.
I-
So that stuff's
and
all
I-
coming pretty soon.
Yeah.
and I know
Go ahead.
we talked a little bit about the how this is going to roll out. So Grub Snacks, Born to Run, Guilty Treasures. We're gonna have a situation where like the first pilot show, the first episode is free for all, and then following shows will be premium in the series, and that'll be accompanied by like a nice little, what do you call it, like a little highlight trailer.
Yeah,
For
like a
each
truncated,
episode?
like a quick hits
You
version
get a
of it.
taste. You get a little
Yeah,
taste.
like a snack.
yeah,
like a snack,
some would
you
call
know.
it like like a grub snack, something like that. You know,
Mm.
a little morsel, little delicious little morsel. You know,
And that'll be on like YouTube and the site, or
Yeah, like that'll be
yeah.
kind of like the version that like, hey,
the
check
morsel.
out what
Yeah.
we're doing over here type stuff. So yeah, that stuff's happening. Giant Bomb Premium's on sale right now. If you're interested in that, that's what is that? That's giantbomb.com/upgrade.
Mhm.
If you want to check that out, and we got these shows coming at you very soon. So I'm looking forward to it. That's exciting.
Totally.
I'm also looking forward to talking about video games.
there's a lot this week. We're
Yeah.
after E3.
Yeah, for like
Yeah,
a
right.
post E3 for like a June, but we are kind of. Well, maybe that doesn't matter. I was going to say it is like the last week of the quarter, right? So you do get those releases kind of bunched up, but it's not so much like that anymore. But there's definitely some stuff. Mario Golf seems like the biggest game of the week. A handful of you have played it. Jan, you golfing? How you golfing? How you golf?
learned very, very poorly. And it turns out, even if I'm Mario or anyone in the Mario family, I still golf very poorly. I really like the original Mario Golf games specifically. I think there was one on the Game Boy.
Yeah, Game Boy
Sure
Color.
was, yeah.
That's the one
I
everyone
think it
points
was-
to. It's like it was a wicked RPG. Like it was just awesome, and they don't make them like
Yeah.
that anymore.
And that was great. And I really liked Mario Tennis, the one that came on the Switch. And I know that like was real hot for a good month, and then it kind of like dipped out. And then Mario Golf is here, and it's a weird approach in how they kind of just throw you into the game. Like it starts with a real good hype trailer of all the Mario family playing golf and like whacking each other off with golf clubs and like
okay, all right.
golf clubs with golf clubs.
Just in the trailer.
yeah, I want to go buy this right
Hey,
now.
no kink shaming. All right,
Yeah,
no problem.
Mario Golf is all about family, much like the Fast franchise. Only this family's
Yes.
a little bit closer.
Yeah, seems like it.
Oh boy. And unlike how Mario Tennis kind of like started you softly into learning the mechanics of everything, this kind of just throws you into like, hey, here's like these 3 loading pages that you can kind of learn how to play golf with. And And yeah, they just kind of throw you off to the races with like the beginner course and then a second set of 18 holes. And I think the two of the newest additions to this is that there's kind of like a story mode where you play as a Mii, because Miis will never die.
Yeah.
And, you know, like Birdo's kind of like your house mom coach, and you're just learning, you're rising up the ranks as like a rookie golfer. But the second neat addition to this is the multiplayer option, where you're all kind of golfing at the same time for each individual hole. So it's you at the starting tee line.
Tee off, the tee
I don't know
box.
any.
Yeah,
Sure.
The tee box,
T-zone,
sure.
the hard to reach T zone.
The T zone. And it's you and 3 other golfers, AI or actual players, and you all just tee off at the same time, and you kind of have to race over to where your ball lands.
Speed golf.
Speed golf, yes. And each individual character, they have, you know, their stats of like they're a power hitter, they're faster. They have different stats in terms of their power hits or their special ability hits, and everyone has a stamina meter, so you can kind of like juice it to get to the ball. You also have like a dash that'll take you to some amount of distance before that runs out. And from there, you just got to get to your ball and then just try and get it into the hole in as little amount of time and strokes. There's not a lot of interacting with the other players other than doing your special character-specific hits. And that'll range from like, hey, this character blows everyone else's balls out of the way that they would that they would come into contact with, or they mess up like the area by the hole,
The green?
and everything. Oh, God,
The green?
it's just the green. Yes. Man, golf. It turns out.
Yeah, it turns out you're a bowler.
18 messy holes. 4 hours.
And so there's the option to actually play on the different golf courses, but then there's also like an arena speed battle golf where you're not going hole by hole. It's like a whole map, and whoever's the first to get to a hole wins a point, and then from there there's like another set of holes that pops up that you got to get into. Wow, this is just getting progressively worse.
Mario
the more I talk.
holes. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So can you clothesline people? Like, you know, like if you're doing the speed golf stuff, can I just like run up on Peach and just like kick her over or something? And
in my experience, I haven't been able to. You can draft behind someone while they're dashing and kind of get a speed boost from there. And like the more arena style battle golf, there's a lot more items popping up. So you'll have a bob-omb and you can hit that, and then that would interfere with the other players. And then from there, there's also like a lot of different variables popping up on like a minute basis where, all right, now just there's coins everywhere. And then, oh, there's ice on the field. That's going to mess you up.
So like the way you speak about this game, it seems like they've maybe not done the best. It seems like they not that they screwed something up, but like something isn't connecting. Like you seem like you're looking for more out of this thing, right?
I think I just wanted something
more
arcadey, right? Just something quicker to pick up and play. And I think the speed golf and the battle golf stuff is like a neat idea, but for some reason there's like a weird disconnect once you're actually playing through it. Like for instance, once say you're doing better than your AI or your friends when you're doing the speed golf, they'll before a hole and you're doing way too well, they'll put a timer before you as a handicap of like, okay, you have to wait like 15-30 seconds before you can go because you're apparently doing too well. And like that you can turn off if you just want to like just keep going and stuff. But it's just you're right. It feels like there's something kind of missing.
Yeah, I feel
I can tell you what the problem
like
is.
the core golf. What if you're going to say the same thing? I think the core golfing just isn't. It's not clicking.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like kind of not arcadey enough, like a Mario Strikers, and it's also not simmy enough either. It's kind of, I don't think it really, like, the best golf games are the ones where like the actual act of hitting the ball and like strategizing and figuring out where it's going to go just feels good. Like everybody's golf does that. Golf Story is like a very lo-fi version of this, but it still managed to do it. And then also like some of the Tiger games have that sense and they're a bit more simmy. But I feel like the golf in this game, I'm having more fun doing the battle thing more than anything else because it's the most removed from actually playing golf, because I don't find the golfing in this game it doesn't snap for me the way other games have.
Yeah, I think the golfing is good enough for me. It's not as good as like PGA Tour, obviously, but the problem is I think Nintendo saw that Super Mario Party sold 15 million copies, and they're like, we have to make a Mario Golf game for that audience and not for the weird perverts who are still talking about that RPG from the Camelot game 20 years ago that we haven't put in another game since. Why won't they stop talking about that? They're not making this game for the audience that we're in right now. They're making it for people who buy Mario Party and keep buying it whenever they buy a Switch. They made this kind of like a party game. Like you're supposed to sit down with friends and family in front of a couch and play these battle modes and play the speed golf, split screen right in front of you on the TV. I think that's how they envision most people are going to play this. And so that means they leave out stuff like a satisfying campaign. It really is like an extended tutorial. I've been more okay with it because I got this game after the reviews, and people said, "Oh, it's really talky." So I don't talk to anybody in the campaign. I just go right to the missions. And I think it's okay, it's serviceable, but it's definitely a disappointment if what you're looking for is something more substantial. And yeah, but I think once you the golf did click with me a little bit just because I really like shaping my shots. But a part of that is going through the campaign and like doing the challenges for each different little thing that they put in there. And that's made it a little bit more satisfying. But you kind of like forcing you to go through that to like unlock that stuff for your Mii, and like skipping the ball across the water, which is something you do in the campaign, which I don't know if there's ever an instance where you would do that in like the versus modes. That stuff is cool. But it also just feels like maybe they haven't made this a very congruent experience where like everything like coalesces into a way where it feels like it's all culminating and you're putting all these skills together. It just feels like a game you're supposed to sit down and play with friends. And if you're not doing that either in person or online, this is probably not the Mario Golf game for you.
Yeah, and speed golf is such a weird thing. Like, this isn't the first game. I mean, like there's like 100-foot robot golf kind of did that like active, like, hey, we're fighting to the hole. Or was golf ? Remember good old golf ? Where you're playing as like a teacup and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you remember golf
like,
for work groups?
Yeah,
Do you
golf
remember
for work
one?
groups, like kind of similar there too, where they're kind of it's like, hey, what if we put everybody on the course? It seems like there's a situation where it's like if you're gonna have that, like it needs to be more than just a race. You kind of need more active like ways to mess with other players.
You can clothesline people when you do. If you're speeding ahead, you can run into people, and then they fall to the side, and they get their iframes for a little bit while they lose some energy. So there's some interaction there. It is like I get why Jan hasn't been able to do it, because if like it's a golf course, it's huge. People are going in all kinds of different directions, and sometimes the holes are literally in different directions. So you can like go this way, and someone go in the complete opposite direction, and you're not even running next to each other anymore. Then it's like, did they really think through the actions there? And then I guess you can use your special shot. Like Wario has a lightning bolt shot, and basically if you shoot it up, and it's going to go the exact length that you set it, and it's going to go right down. And any balls in the area of effect are going to get electrocuted. And I don't know, because I was never hit by Wario's attack, so I don't know exactly what this does. But I think any ball that's been like electrocuted like adds a stroke to their shot or whatever, and like behaves weirdly. But then that's like you have to aim it, and you have to make sure you time it right. They have to be in that area of effect. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. This did lead to one instance for me though, where I was playing online with some friends, but we weren't on voice. But we got to a par 3, so everyone's got to hit it to the same spot. And I had my shot, and my friend didn't, and he was ahead of me, and he just kept waiting because he knew as soon as he hit the ball, I was going to do it. So we were just standing off forever, and it was like a full 2 minutes before one of us started going. But yeah, that's interesting, but
it's cool.
It's not happening frequently enough where you feel like this is a game where you are just always going to be messing with your friends. So
and I feel like a lot of that strategy stuff, at least because I'm so bad at playing with friends online that way. I feel like the AI doesn't really know what to do with a lot of this stuff. Like in the battle mode, it's so easy to win it if you just always go where they aren't, because they always end up going to the same sort of obvious holes. So you just like, okay, first hole, I'm going to go to this one over here, and then just like, once at least that's been the strategy strategy that's worked up till this point. So yeah, it does feel. I hear what you're saying. It does feel like the type of game where it's probably a very different experience if you're playing with friends, and that's probably the way it was meant to be played.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay. That makes
you know, holes aside, I feel like what we're not talking about, and again, like I don't want to just continue to bang the same Bacalar drum over and over again, but my friends, is not the perfect sport Nintendo has yet to make a Mario version of right under our collective noses? I'm sorry,
Hacky
my
sack.
friends, but where the fuck is Mario Hockey? Think about it, okay? Just like it doesn't take a lot to think about how great power-ups and all the Nintendo sport fuckery they do in these games would work so well with a really, almost NHL hitsified version of a arcade hockey game. I
They're gonna make a
have to
sake
do
game
everything
before they make a
myself.
hockey game. Yeah.
You know
We'll
what?
do
You're
sake
right.
first.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Sake will see the light of day.
I think hockey probably. So I'm just guessing here, but when I think about Nintendo and the reason Nintendo makes Nintendo-like decisions, I think the contact in hockey is often perceived as too violent, or that type of thing. Because when I think about a great arcade hockey game, I'm thinking about all the way back to NHL '93 on the Genesis. I'm thinking about
Sure.
NHL Hits. I'm thinking about that Gretzky game that launched on the N64, and then the Hits franchise kind of after that Midway got into, like NHL Rock the Rink for the PS1. Hell of a
Oh my
game.
god. Oh my god.
Rink.
Rock the Rink.
I don't know if I
Wow.
played that.
I played that. The GameSpot staff was forced to go on an editorial sabbatical out to
Cow
some
Palace.
ski place. People were out skiing, and then I was reviewing NHL Rock the Rink, and I was like, I'm just gonna stay inside and not go break both my legs, and play Rock the Rink instead. And then I think Andrew Park brought his Neo Geo, and we played Mark of the Wolves as well. But anyway,
I mean, you talk about the violence.
I think like the Nintendo characters and like those types of power-ups, I think you would end up in such a situation where you'd have to do such indirect violence, like Mario Kart style violence. It's just like, oh,
Sure.
I dropped a thing on the ice and you fell
Yeah.
over, or I
That's what
shot a
we'll have to
rocket
do.
and there was a smoke cloud or whatever. But like, I don't want to do that. I want to be fucking.
Yeah.
I want to take the Mario archetypes. You've got the NES ice hockey archetypes. You've got regular ass Mario. You've got skinny ass Luigi. You've got thick ass Wario. Right there,
It's on goal.
and just have them slam into each other as hard as they can for as long as they
That
can.
sounds real good, though. It sounds like a lot of fun. They should just
Yeah.
do it. They should just
They
get over
should
it
just
and
do it. And just, they could be all dumb and add the characters that they want to add that everyone's like, who the fuck is Marth or whatever? Like, they could do that. They could
Totally.
add all these
Yes.
things that they want to
Put
do.
Marth, more
Another sword
guys
character in Mario Hockey. Yeah. Sorry.
Right? Exactly. Oh, come
was in the
on.
hockey game.
Oh, every direct is another Mario hockey character. Yeah, but I think we
It's
should
called a Fire
do
Emblem
that.
hockey at that stage. Is it big in Japan? Like, because I feel like golf, baseball, even
They've got a
soccer,
team. I'm
They
pretty
got
sure
a
they're
national team. It's
do.
it's not that big in
Fucking
Japan.
Ireland
though,
has a
hockey.
national team. We've got like one
Right.
rink.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
It's like
mean,
that.
okay. I can't. I don't know what to tell you there, but that's,
Yeah. Sorry, Bacalar. Yeah, not going to happen.
I can't.
They should do it. I agree.
They should do it.
definitely do it.
They've done hockey in things before. They love ice. Ice shows up everywhere.
Yeah.
Ice is in every
Mario
Mario
goddamn
thing,
ice level. Like, make a goddamn
know?
ice game.
There's
Here's
ice in
climb.
this
Bring it
Mario
back.
Golf.
right? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well,
I really liked Knockout City. They should just do dodgeball.
yeah.
Sure.
That'd be real
Sure.
fun.
The violent problem again. That's like the most violent.
Ah,
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean,
you're throwing a shell at someone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
Does not seem
Who knows?
as forgiving as a dodgeball, but
I mean, that dev had a relationship with Nintendo for the Mario Kart AR thing. Like, there's probably some version of the world where that was exactly what that was.
Oh,
But-
yeah.
true.
Can
But
you
it
hit the
didn't happen.
pitcher in Mario baseball games, or like, can you?
I don't
you run, get the benches to now. You do like a
no
line
bench
drive,
clearing
or
Yeah.
in those games.
You
Unfortunately,
rub some material on your hat, and you're just
yeah,
bit of
exactly.
tar.
Yeah. So it's like, get a little bit of this in here and go all Phil Necro on it. Tony Hawk came to the Switch.
Finally.
Speaking of Switch video games, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2. Jeff Grubb, you played a little bit of that. I understand the load times are something of a nightmare.
Yeah, so the initial loads on levels are fine and acceptable. The issue is the same issue that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 had, which is that when you press the retry button, because that's something you do often in a Tony Hawk game. At least that's how I play it. I restart a lot because I want to get the perfect line or whatever. And it's 5 to 8 seconds. And I think that people who aren't Tony Hawk fans hear that and they're like, what are you complaining about? It's just 8 seconds. That's nothing. In a Tony Hawk game, it is. I think I played the game originally on Nintendo 64 and then Dreamcast. It didn't play the PlayStation 1 version a lot, but my understanding is even the PlayStation versions had pretty much instant reload.
Yeah.
So
So we're
talking about a CD-based game
is
from the
that
90s.
you could just like do that and restart and get right back into it. Like the frustration of like, I can't believe I fucked that up. I got to restart right now, and then you're back in it before you have time to sit and go like, I'm gonna go do something else.
It's
it
important.
kept you going, definitely.
Yeah, it's part of part of the flow. Now, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I wonder like what that tells someone who's smart enough to sniff out like the logistics of like making a game. Like I think we're all in agreement that is like pretty high up on the list of crucial ass shit when it comes to a Tony Hawk game. And like, is this just an indictment of like, I just can't fucking do it on this thing?
It's probably a thing of like the overall player base for that game. How many players are actually going to know that was a key thing in those original games? And like, and the trade-off of like, okay, are you going to reduce the visual fidelity of that game such that it maybe can sit in memory more and reload faster? Or are you going to have pretty screenshots to show people so that they go buy it on Switch? Like it's probably
right. And they made other sacrifices. You can't hold down the share button to get like 30-second video clips. That's turned off for this game. Like it seems like they are maximizing their resources to keep the levels loaded in and to get the levels loaded in and looking the way they do, which is okay. It looks fine. The good news is that it plays exactly like you want. It is 30 frames per second. This is a hunch that I have that they are doing the thing that Trials did when it went to Switch, and that is, sure, the game is updating visually at 30 hertz, but I think the controls are updating at 60 hertz. That's the way it feels. That's the only way I would be able to explain why it feels so smooth when I play it, because it responds exactly how I would want a Tony Hawk game to respond. And, you know, if I have to choose between not having Tony Hawk on the go and having Tony Hawk with reloads that are unacceptable, I'll take it and I'll play it this way. And I have been playing it. I've been playing it a lot. It's like the game that I'm like, when I have a little bit of time, I'm playing that. Especially when I'm like, okay, that Mario Golf round was frustrating. I'm going to go play this Tony Hawk game, and I've already played it all the way through on PC and on one of the consoles, I think the Xbox. So it still is solid, and it's exactly what you want if you're a Tony Hawk fan, except for those reload times. And if that's like enough to be like, oh, that's too much, I'll just go back and keep playing on the system I already bought it for once instead of double dipping. Yeah, just do that. You don't have to double dip here. Definitely not. But if you never play Tony Hawk and switches your system, then you could probably check it out and be fine.
Yeah, I think. But if you want portable Tony Hawk, I mean, you could always play Tony Hawk 1 on the N-Gage.
Yep.
You could always play the Tony Hawk 2 on the Tapwave Zodiac. That's a great version. Of the isometric. Yeah, they did it's the the isometric GBA Tony Hawk that is actually good. Kick ass.
Yeah,
they did a high res version of that for the Tapwave Zodiac.
Whoa,
it's incredible.
That actually, but the analog stick on that thing sucks so much that it's actually kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, Vicarious Visions. What are they doing these days? They should get on another one of those.
Yeah, they should make another one of these Tony Hawks, right? I mean, this guy is going places. He's dropping 900s. He's dropping NFTs. You know, everyone loves Tony Hawk.
Is he dropping NFTs? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah.
Did he NFT his like 900 or some shit?
Yes, I think it was like
That's
the
exactly
last
what he
time
did.
he was going to do a specific trick, and they made a goddamn NFT. Because no one got to Tony and said, "Don't do it, man!" before it was too late.
The subway people got to
It
him
was
too
Avril
soon.
Lavigne's fault.
Yeah. See what else is going on. Dark Alliance. We talked a little bit about Dark Alliance last week. Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance, the latest in the long line of beloved Dark Alliance games. I ended up playing some more of this now that it's out. I played some of it pre-release, and then the reviews hit, and my feeling was like, what I played was not great, but maybe not worthy of this level of ire. And then I spent a couple more hours with it and tried playing online, and it's terrible. It's really I was surprised by those last 2 hours with it in terms of getting into the next act of the campaign and kind of seeing what the next environment looked like and how the enemies behaved and all that other stuff, and then getting online with it and realizing like, oh, like this game feels bad and muddy and the controls don't feel right and the timing is very sluggish and all this other stuff. And then you play online and then the littlest bit of latency completely destroys that game. Like it wants you to,
Oh, really?
it's got pretty wide timing windows for stuff like, there's a parry. So if you time your blocks right, you'll parry attacks. And that's something you need to do to kind of regenerate stamina, or like your maximum stamina depletes as you do special moves. And to bring that meter back up to its fullest, you need to parry an attack. And so it's something that is part of the loop of combat in that game. But you throw a bunch of lag into it and you're like, oh, this is like, enemies are like warping around the screen. I can't, this is damn near unplayable. And this, and obviously session by session, that's going to vary depending on who you're playing with, where they are, all that other stuff. But boy, oh boy, it's rough and not much fun at all.
Eesh.
I did roll around with a Drizzt for a little while online, and it's not, I don't feel it is worthy of the Dark Alliance name. It really makes me sad as someone who liked those games.
Wow.
It's rough stuff.
Is the multiplayer the same as the solo campaign? It's just that you play one
Yeah.
character and
Exactly.
and in the solo you still play as one and the rest of them are AI, or
No, there's
They're
no
not-
AI. So you just play
okay.
alone.
Okay, you play solo.
Yeah,
Alright.
so they don't fill in the gaps for you, and it's kind of like you can only play. You can't have two of the same character. It seems like it's kind of like locked in terms of, you form your party of four named characters and all that sort of stuff. Like, I understand that obviously like these are very famous characters from a very specific era of D&D lore and all this other stuff. But like when I come to this type of game, I want to make a character. Like I don't care about. I don't even care about Drizzt, and he's super famous. Let alone Wolfgar and these other fuckers that are in this thing. Like, it's yeah. So that part is some people will enjoy that part of it more than I did, I guess. But like, it just everything in terms of like as you're unlocking additional moves and leveling up and spending your points and all this other stuff, like just a lot of different aspects of that game are busted. But for me, the worst part about it is that when you collect loot in level, you don't get to use it. You have to finish the level and go back to a chest. And then, so like you'll pick up items and they'll say like rare helmet, but it won't give you, it's not in your inventory. It's just like in a pool of loot you acquired during this level, and you don't get any of it unless you finish the mission.
So like Anthem?
So yeah, exactly. And so if you quit mid mission, you don't get any of that stuff, which I'm sure prevents some exploit. I don't, who knows why they did it, but it creates this situation where you have to go back and then do a buttload of inventory management, and then the inventory management in that game is not well crafted or modern in a lot of ways either. And so it just kind of top to bottom, they have not done a good job with it, or some people did fine jobs with it, but like the end product is severely disappointing. And it's on Game Pass, so if you want to go play it for nothing, you can.
Do you think games
I
like
don't
this reflect on Game Pass in a way? Did you find yourself like your emotions changing towards Game Pass when they hype up a game like Dark Alliance and then it comes out and it stinks, or is it just like another bad game that you just move on from?
I think it's hard for me because we just get access to so much stuff, right? So, but
Yeah.
I try to envision it in terms of like Game Pass is almost doing you a solid, because if you were a Dark Alliance fan, you might have gone out and bought that.
Yeah.
And if you can just play that for 4 hours and be like, man, dodged a bullet there, like Game Pass is still providing some kind of service there.
Right.
Like you have to, them going out and doing the business to do the deal to launch with that on day one. I'm sure they are hoping it's going to turn out good and all this other stuff. So I'm not saying they're going out there trying to do deals with bad games to save people money, but it in some sick way it still works out. I've been thinking a lot about that aspect of Game Pass lately in terms of just like the value of, so when you have access to all of those games, and I saw a couple people on Twitter off and on over time just say like, boy, it sure is easy to play the first 3 hours of every game on Game Pass and not stick to any of them. Do you think that Game Pass is doing something weird to the perceived value of video games. If you've, when you buy a game, you end up with that investment of like, well, I spent this money on this game and now I'm stuck with it. I should probably play it all the way through. I can't get a refund because we live in a nightmare.
I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is yes, it's absolutely doing something to the psychology of game ownership, 100%. Like, how could it not be?
Yeah,
I mean, we saw it's the slippery slope argument that people say, are like, oh, this is going to encourage developers to only release bad games because they don't get punished as bad. And I think we'll have to wait to see if anything like that happens. And I do think that's like a slippery slope argument. But I think Backlar's right. How could it not? Like, we saw the way things changed on mobile because people tried different business models, and a different business model is going to make people think differently about the way they acquire and think about their games. My hunch is that it's going to have a net positive effect over time, where people feel like they can try more and new and different stuff and not have to like so greatly protect the one genre that they know that they're into because they're spending $60 to $70 every time. But I'm sure there'll be some negative effects that we haven't predicted yet as well. But overall, I think it'll probably be positive.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree that it will be net positive, but it's a very different thing. I mean, when Microsoft's first party stuff started showing up on there, it definitely changed the conversation about like, how do you review these games when you're not really having to abdicate like someone spending $60 on it or not, and you end up in that same situation. Like, this is why we didn't review mobile games for the long, like in pre-iPhone days,
right,
or even in the iPhone days. Like, when a game is free, you could spend a lot of time reading about it, or you could just go check it out for 10 minutes and see what's up.
Yes. And
it kind of changes the need to write the traditional review for those sorts of games. And now it's, that sort of stuff is happening with these Game Pass games. And, Crackdown 3 for me was like the first big one of those where it was like, I was playing it and I was like, I'm having a bad time. Like, this is not the Crackdown sequel I want in any way, shape, or form. The multiplayer is also very disappointing when you compare it to what they promised about their cloud support, blah, blah, blah. But then at the end of it, you're like, well, what's my recommendation? I don't know. Sign up for Game Pass. You should probably have it anyway. And then play 4 hours of it. If you like it, play some more. But like, it's fine that it's bad. It's fine that it's not great, because you don't have to go pay another $60 for it. And Game Pass does have so many solid to great games on it, kind of rotating through, or games that have become fixtures because they're first party. You're just like, whatever, you should get it. Like, long term, it's like, long term, do you have a lot of people who played like me that played like the first 90 minutes of River City Girls and said, this is really cool, and then never touched it again?
It feels so platform specific, though, in this instance. It's not like a, music industry thing or something where we suddenly devalue the art form because it's become, these massive streaming libraries. Like, this is very much a Microsoft thing. And PlayStation in a way, this has allowed PlayStation to lean even further into these sort of, we are creating these curated experiences that are only available on this console. And, there are these big blockbuster tentpole games that are going to come out every 6 months. You can only play them here. And then, which is probably a good thing in some way, business-wise, for both of them, because it allows them to occupy a unique space within the industry in a way that hardware-wise they just simply don't anymore. So, to me, it feels like a very Microsoft strategy, and it's in its own little sort of walled garden there. It's already changing the way we're talking about games.
Definitely, and it becomes like I think Game Pass, like, long term, it becomes an issue of curation. Like, what deals do they do? And why do they do them? Like, I, as someone who just told you that I think Dark Alliance is a terrible game, I think it's great that it's on Game Pass. Because
I think that the curation should lean towards more bad games as opposed to like trying to like have a really high bar. Just put a lot of stuff on there and think about it, but that curation shouldn't be overburdening, like to the point where they're like, I don't even hear about a game because it's not on Game Pass anymore, and then they don't put a game in there because they think it's bad. I think it's okay. Let me decide it's bad. I'm not going to hold it against you, I don't think.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. I think if they hit a bad run where like all the games they're promoting as like their big day one releases are all rotten, eventually that probably has some kind of knock-on effect, but I don't think they've gotten there yet. And I think the quality of the first party stuff has been high enough that I think that and they still have enough like goodwill on their biggest franchises there that I think that carries it kind of no matter what. Like, even if you played Outriders and it broke and deleted all your inventory, you're still like, well, I'll get Halo, I'll get Forza, It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm
like,
staying signed up to this, but
And you played Outriders for like 4 hours or 6 hours. Like there was a value there, and it's sort of in a way kind of throwbacky to getting the demo disc and investing 4 hours playing all those games.
Renting a game or something. You're just like bringing it home for the weekend, and like maybe you don't finish it, but
games you were never going to buy in the first place, or or games you were never going to try. Like I've played more games in other genres that I don't usually play on Game Pass. Like there's a bunch of half the games I talked about in the first couple of months when I was on this podcast were games that I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll give that a whirl. So, and maybe what's happening as well is that we're changing the way we think about the value proposition ourselves, where maybe we don't need to play a game for 15 or 40 or 100 hours. Maybe it's okay to play a game 20% of the way through for 4 hours, and that was enough.
And I think someone in chat made up a good point about like subsidizing bad games. I think of It Takes Two, and what was the game before that? Way Out. Way Out, people kind of were like lukewarm on it, and EA gave Joseph Fares another chance to do the exact same thing with a slightly different style. And It Takes Two has been, everyone raves about it. I haven't played it, but people seem to love it. And it's like, they gave him a chance, let him like learn this way of making a game. And sure, it didn't like strike everybody's fancy, but the second game seems to have done exactly that, and it sold really well. And it's like almost like let these developers take a strike. Let them take a strike, and then if they come up to the bat next time, like let's see what they could do after they've learned some lessons. And maybe there's like a lot of value in that, and that's like something that was not happening without Game Pass. Like not really.
Yeah, I mean the math has been done. Like the people did
experiment.
Yeah, they did the math on this for sure. Like, because that's what I keep coming back to is like, there is this amazing thing about Game Pass of like it appearing from a customer point of view, such an impossible deal to sort of pass up, but at the same time is likely highly lucrative on the other side of the fence too. Like there are these two sort of not conflicting, but sort of historically what you would perceive to be conflicting ideologies of like, this can't be great and cheap. Like they can't, I feel like that is kind of the real, special sauce in the whole sort of model. Yeah. Well, you talked about like Sony doing it the first time, like PlayStation Now on a smaller scale was this, not now, PlayStation Plus on a smaller scale was this. They had that momentum for a very long time. Like, it was a thing that had been established. It just kind of, I don't know, the gas kind of ran out of the tank a little bit, I guess, with the sort of, roadmap and the strategy.
It was so month by month as well. Game Pass feels more like an archive.
Fluid, yeah, definitely.
Well, in conclusion, put Balan Wonderworld on Game Pass.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the thesis.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We got some more games to get through, and then we'll get into some news. How about that? Mental health, am I right? You know what I mean? Your brain stuff, how's it going up there? Is it going good, or are you struggling? It's okay. Look, it's okay if you're struggling. There are a lot of people out there struggling. You aren't feeling like your normal self. You might check out therapy. Therapy can help. It doesn't have to be sitting around talking about your feelings. Therapy can be whatever you want it to be, whatever you need it to be. You can privately talk to someone if you feel like you're not dealing well with stress, or if you're having relationship issues, whatever you need. It's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. And there's BetterHelp to help you better with this. It's a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It can be more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about and see if it's for you, because you are your greatest asset. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Giant Bombcast listeners can get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/bombcast. That's betterhelp.com/bombcast. It's time to get grubbing. And it's time to get hubbing. It is time to get Grubhubbing. Grubhub serves restaurants. That's right. They love restaurants. From the food to the passion, the determination of the people behind them, Grubhub is here to help. Because a restaurant's relationship with the customer, it matters. Their reputation matters. And they don't want that reputation to suffer because of, Grubhub. Good food deserves a good service delivered fast, fresh, and exactly how restaurants intended it to be. because restaurants work hard to serve their customers, and Grubhub works hard to serve them. Whatever you're doing, hey, look, you're busy. You got a lot of TV to watch. You're just not in a position to leave the house and pick up food. Grubhub is there. You got to come up for air. By air, I mean food. Grubhub's got you covered. They will get food from local restaurants, national chains, all these other places, and they will bring it to you. Because Grubhub serves restaurants. Grubhub works hard to serve those restaurants so that they can work hard to serve you. Today, Grubhub is doing something a little extra. Serve some Panera. You can get a free delivery perk on your first order from Panera of $15 or more. Order through the Grubhub app or online. Grubhub, we serve restaurants. All right, let's talk about a few more games here. Lego Builder's Journey. Hit Apple Arcade a while ago, but and it's on Switch now as well, but it seems like the two aspects of it are, boy, it's very emotional, but also, damn, it looks good. If they went and RTX'd up a Lego game or something. And, some good looking bricks. Yeah. But the game itself, I am not loving. It's basically like a puzzleish game where you're kind of moving some Legos around an environment. Basically, you want to bring the characters together. So you're kind of like taking one character and moving them over to the other one. And to do that, you have specific bricks that they will jump to. And so it's like this domino effect of like you're picking up the brick behind them and moving it in front of them to make them move. And that's a little clunky and a little bit slower than I wish it was. But damn, it's a beautiful video game. Danny, if you play all the way through it, did you?
Not yet. It's only about 90 minutes, and I think
it's not very
long.
Yeah.
No, I've played about 50, but I keep having to stop because it keeps getting me, like, it keeps like affecting me too much. Like, it's not going to be the same for everyone, I'm sure, but like a lot of us here are dads, and like I play Duplo with my daughter like pretty much on a daily basis. And like last week we had a vacation together, which was really nice. And then I had to come back to work, and like there's parts of this game where like it's all about the relationship between a parent and a child, and then the parent has to go to work. And it's all done in these little like, motifs, but it totally was getting like I was in tears after 7 minutes of this thing. The open that they do is sort of has like an up style, oh, I wasn't expecting this sort of moment that really like got to me. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm mostly playing because the reason I got it was because it in the same way that those Lego movies looked unbelievable, this looks just so fantastic. And now the thing that's keeping me playing is I want to do the story, but I'm doing it in drips and drabs because literally it keeps like I keep going, oh, I need a break, man. This is a bit much.
I feel like I know how it's going to end, and like I just don't. Like there was a part of me that was just like, I don't think I want to deal with that right now.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I'm with you.
The dad's head just pops off or something. You know what's going to happen.
It's not going to be some happy ending. It's never, it's telling a life.
It's
just grows
cycle
up and doesn't need the parent anymore or something like that.
It was perfectly encapsulated. We started over the weekend, and my son, he was getting a little frustrated. He doesn't use a mouse a lot, so he was sort of like, "Fuck is this?" But he's looking at me in like one of those first levels where like the kid gets up to like the hiking backpack of the parent, and then like the kid gets its own backpack, and he just like turned and looked at me and he was like, "That's me." And I'm like, "Cool, yeah." And they're probably gonna kill me in this game or do something terrible. Like we're gonna be separated, you and me, in this game, and it's gonna feel bad. And but it is amazingly gorgeous. I am equally frustrated with a few of the things in the way the game controls, and I just think some of that stuff leaves a little to be desired. But the fidelity and the whole environment wins me over more than any of those frustrations. So, shit, man.
I've been playing it too. I think that the storytelling is very well done. It's not even they're not minifigs. They just create them with Lego parts to create these characters, and I think it makes it more abstract, and it enables you to like you put yourself into what you're seeing, and then when you take like the story back out, it's like more affecting because of that. It's Yeah, it's really well done. I think that the gameplay gets a little bit more varied. Like you're doing slightly different things a little bit further in than I was expecting. And also, I also have the Switch version as well as the PC version, and the Switch version still looks pretty good. It's obviously not the global illumination with the DLSS to make sure the frame rate's still going, but it still looks good enough. So if you want to try this out, and I think you can use the touchscreen on the Switch as well, which makes the controlling a little bit easier, especially for kids. But I've been pretty impressed with it, but I agree with the story where I'm like, oh no, the dad's going to work and he's doing the same thing over and over, and all right, this is getting me.
It's killing. I like my daughter loves to like skateboard and scooter, and then there's a moment in the game where it sort of changes the gameplay a bit, and it's the kid on like a skateboard, and I'm like, come on,
by themselves,
man.
right? Because the dad's with them at the beginning. It's a parent. I'm calling it a dad. We don't necessarily know it's a dad, but like the parent is there, and it's at the beginning, and they're learning this world together. Then the dad has to go to work, and then the kid is like learning the world on their own and like figuring things out by themselves. And it's like, oh, okay, that's going to happen someday, isn't it? Like my kids are 4 and 2, so yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
It is out there, that.
Just let me build the Ghostbusters car or something,
right?
It's I bet you could play this game like, and none of this. It's the same way I feel like when we talked about It's Take Two a couple of months ago, where like for us it was like this is stepping in areas that I'm like make me feel like vulnerable in a way that is difficult. But also you could totally play this game and none of that stuff will may not affect you, but mileage may vary.
Beautiful looking. I think the animation on some of the levels too, with just the Legos moving and stuff, is just really cool.
Yeah.
Phantom Abyss. Your run based whip jumping first person relic stealing spike getting Indiana Jones-ish sort of deal. This game is really cool, and I'm not sure if I'm ever going to play it again. I really like what they're going for, and at the same time, I don't know that I have the. I wish the jumping and the whip stuff, and maybe as you're kind of getting additional whips and stuff, maybe that solves it. But like when Bacalar, when you played it on Friday, I totally understand now why you kept falling in stuff, because I want the whip to be more of like a fast action. I'm going to whip here and then turn around and whip here and just like carry myself up. And it's not that game. It's like you whip once on a jump, and that's
you're not Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. You're not Spider-Man, and I want to be Spider-Man.
So that DLC is coming. I mean, you'll.
They'll probably put that whip in there, like a dual whip eventually or something like that. But I like it a lot. You'll notice that you're not actually stealing relics; you're reclaiming them for the god who they were stolen from. I think so. They got around that little bit of trouble pretty smartly, I think. But it's my kind of game. It's absolutely my kind of jam. I got really into speedrunning with Astro, and this is like kind of scratching that same itch where it's not speed running, but it's run based, and I'm encouraged to go fast because there's a big monster chasing you, and just kind of figuring out these platforming puzzles is really satisfying, and then also seeing all the people around you who have failed previously. Like that's the big hook here is like you're going to be the first person to actually finish this whole thing, and you're playing against the ghost of all the other people who have tried and failed so far. And then once someone beats it, it gets cut off and gets taken out of rotation. And that doesn't mean like every run feels super different. It is just that procedurally generated stuff being pieced together. But it's really working for me. It's got its hooks into me. I've been playing it kind of nonstop, and I haven't like beaten the second biome, I guess is what you would call it, but I've gotten pretty deep into that, but they introduced some new traps. I'm struggling with those. I'm going to keep going until I think I get through like to the end. I think there's probably like 4 major areas, and I'm going to keep at it until I do that. So yeah, I'm really digging it.
So
does that mean that does that mean one run covers all 4 areas, or is it that
there's 2 different kinds of runs you could do. You could do a run which stops at the first area where you reclaim the relic from that first area, and then it sends you back to the beginning, and that's a successful run. But I think eventually you're going to run out of relics in that first area, and then you got to start doing the same thing on the second area, and then but I want to like just keep going. But you can like once you make the decision to go to the second area, you just go up the stairs instead of down the stairs, and if you have the right key, you can open the door and go. But I think a full like real run to me feels like, doing all 4 areas, basically like Spelunky.
So that's what I kind of discovered more after we did it on UPF, where I had gotten like 3 or 4, first level kind of relics. And then I was like, and then you make it a few times around and the game sort of says like, hey, pretty cool, you've been doing what you've been doing, but maybe you like go down the stairs and challenge yourself a little bit. And that's when I was like, oh shit, there's a whole other like backside of this game where you're in this like, the first area is kind of green, this area is kind of blue. And that shit's impossible. I mean, it's not impossible, but that shit is much more challenging, because after you collect a good amount of relics in the green areas, you're sort of like, oh, I could get like 40 or 50 of these things and feel okay. But then that sort of thing pops up and you can see the branch in the loading screen of how like, oh, you sidestep that easier relic to get around. That I find that stuff really, really kind of fun. And I do like the shrine system that they have going on with the perks and strategizing on like what the right, thing to pick up is and which ones work better for the way you kind of play the game.
Yeah. I got a whip that gives me 2 extra heart containers, and then it made things cost 30% more. But then somehow, and I don't actually remember, I must have been getting a relic, but I upgraded that whip, and now it no longer has the debuff. It just gives you the 2 extra heart containers, and so I've been using that kind of nonstop.
But
is that a situation where every time you unlock a whip, is it just kind of there for you to select pre-run?
Yeah,
or do you just have
there,
one?
But if you die with it, there is a situation where you might have to spend some resources to get it, to like rebuy it, to like unlock it again. But I've always had enough resources to do that. I haven't been in a situation where I haven't had enough, where I've been faced with that decision yet, or I had to like choose something else that I didn't want. But I imagine as I get better and better whips, I probably likely will. And it seems like these are resources you get based on the biomes that you get to. So like I got a lot of the green, treasures, uncommon treasures, and I think I've only gotten a few from the blue area. So if I need something that needs blue, and I think I actually have that whip, I just haven't been needing it. It's not the one I want to use right now. If I were to lose that one during a run, I would have to go back to that second area and get that stuff to unlock it again. So
and isn't there something where if you die with the whip, I think there's some language there that says like you won't get this back until someone completes the
resources.
Run.
Yeah, so like I think the resources that you earned. When someone completes the run, they unlock it and it gets sent to you. And so that's happened to me once where they're like, hey, someone beat that temple and now here's your stuff. It makes it feel like a multiplayer game. It really does.
Cool.
When it's, when it's definitely not, it's all asynchronous.
Yeah, I love it. I'm really into it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, Cruelty Squad. I feel like I've heard the name of this game going around for a bit, and for whatever reason, I just never looked to see what it is. And then pre-show, I looked at it. Jeff Grubb, this seems like it's probably pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome. So the Cruelty Squad, before people go Google it, it has overwhelmingly positive ratings on Steam. And I don't necessarily think it's a joke, but the game's definitely like in on the joke. So it is like it looks like GoldenEye, but if all the textures were replaced by like just random JPEGs from your your funny folder or whatever.
Right.
And it feels like GoldenEye, like you're going through the levels and you're just taking on these enemies. But there's also like this weird storyline where on like the third mission, I got sent after the CEO of a company, and I'm like, wait, the company name, I think I saw that company name in the stock trading mini game that I always have access to. So I'm like, before I go to kill that CEO, should I go buy that stock? Because the head up, the people who control the world are like, hey, the CEO of I think like Aerospace Orbital Industries, he is not okay with getting a lot of lives lost on our mission to Mars. And actually, the whole point of our mission to Mars is to have a mass human sacrifice event to satiate the heads up of this world. And I'm like, okay, so the heads up of this world want us to replace the CEO. I'm going to buy the stock for this company because I bet the price is going to go up. So I went in the level and I killed the CEO, and I came back out and they went up like 10%. So I like made some money on my thing is on the side. And there's like a huge like stock trading thing, and it looks just like a Bloomberg terminal. And there's one of the tabs is just like fish, but I don't recognize any of like the names of the actual like commodity like as a fish. Like the first one is FLSH. So we just started on stream. I just started calling it flesh, and I invested a lot in flesh. And I actually took a pretty bad beating on my flesh investment and lost a lot of money. But I don't know. I mean, it's from a developer called Consumer Soft Products. They know what they're doing. I think you have to see it to really understand here. But I was having a very good time with it. My chat, like, it's cacophonous. So like, there's a lot to look at. There's a lot to listen to. They always have weird sounds happening in the background. There's people running all around you, around the stage, kind of like on a loop, and their footsteps, whether they're like 50 feet away from you, you hear them like they're right next to you. So it could be a lot. And the people on stream were like, this stinks. This is bad. And I'm like, actually, I think it might be good, guys. I'm having a pretty good time. But yeah, you have to kind of see it for yourself. And I think it's like $20, but I don't know. I'm thinking it's worth it. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah. Nice.
Invest in flesh.
Yes. Yeah. I put all my money into
all my flesh
all
stocks.
the time.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to some news. How about it?
There's a lot of games. Yeah. Let's do it.
It's a lot of games. News. Also
news.
a lot of news. This just happened. Looks like Remedy has signed a new deal with 505 Games, which it's in the press release here, and I have to say it every time I see it. 505 Games, an international video game publisher and subsidiary of Digital Bros Group.
Okay. The Camera Bros.
My Digital Bros. Fuck all these Analog Bros. Actually, Analog Brothers. There's a couple good albums. Those like Ice-T and Cool Keith and them. There's nothing wrong with Analog Brothers. They have come to a new deal with the Control franchise, and Remedy will be working on a spin-off that is a 4-player co-op take on Control. That is not. Sorry, did I make up that 4-player co-op PvE game codenamed Condor.
Finally,
Wait, they making
a player
a Left 4 Dead
game.
Is this a Left 4 Dead?
Is that a Left 4 Dead? I mean, PvE 4-player co-op in the Control universe. That sounds like 4 players making their way through the oldest house or some kind of shifting space, shooting a bunch of Control people with cool control powers. That might be cool.
It also sounds like half the games that answered E3, unfortunately. This is just like...
Yeah. Yes. And we have a quote here from Rami and Rafi Galante, the co-CEOs of Digital Bros Group. I assume that they are the Digital Bros, as they share a last name. But we're excited to continue and further expand our collaboration with Remedy with over 2 million copies sold and revenue exceeding 70 million euros. Control is an extremely successful game. I just wanted to say the Digital Bros part again. The quote's not actually that relevant. The rest of it here, though. In addition, 505 Games and Remedy have outlined high-level collaboration terms to further expand the Control franchise with a bigger budget Control game to be agreed in more detail in the future. So, not just the 4-player codename Condor thing. This is kind of setting the stage for more Control in the future, which they should make more Control. That's my expert opinion. They should continue to make more games in the Control universe because it's so damn good.
Huh.
There are the 3 Galante brothers apparently are on the Digital Bros key people. Chairman and the CEO and the director are all Galantes.
All right.
There you go. It's got to be one of the biggest publishers coming out of Italy, right?
The Digitalist of Bros. I feel like Digital Bros wasn't that name used as a budget line in the UK or in PAL territories somewhere?
Sounds like it, but I couldn't.
And then they just rebranded it as 505 in the US and then tried to get out of that kind of budget mentality, or tried to dodge the budget reputation that they had over there. And
Italian publishers have the best names. I think there's one called The Video Game Party, which is just really solid. That's really good.
Apparently this crowd, it's been there ever since like 89. They did a lot of publishing in Italy, so like the Italian versions of Pro Evolution and Tomb Raider and Resident Evil. So they've been around for a while, but I guess the acquisitions and investments looks like it's sort of kicked off in the past couple of years.
Yeah, they've been trying to make a run at it for the last handful of years. Control feels like the big breakout potential for 505. I mean, they've been hit and miss there for a while. Let's see here. Kazuya is coming to Smash Brothers today, I believe he is out. And the next character will be the last. Sakurai has announced that the next character will finish the current season of characters, and apparently it will be the final character for Smash Brothers Ultimate. So we've only got one more shot at really angering a lot of people here, and I want to know like who is gonna. My money is on Mr. Do, or
Love it.
or Dan from Street Fighter. I think that would really probably piss off a lot of people. Anyone?
I think it's going to be a Rabbid. It's going to be a Rabbid from Mario plus Rabbids. There we go.
That would actually be. But they should just do Rabbid versions of all the characters in the game. Like they have to do different Kirby's.
Oh, no.
Well, that would be good. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be good. So they'll never do that. Someone in chat says bonk. Could we get a Karnov in here? What could we get like the car from Breakthrough? Like something cool. I would this. Yeah, people saying this is Waluigi's last chance. I wonder if they're gonna if they're saving that for last, and they're just like, this is what the fans want, or if it's just gonna be like, Marth has a cousin from a different timeline. We thought that'd be cool.
They should put in Dovahkiin. That would really stir
He's
the
a Mii
ire.
fighter. He got added as Mii fighter in the last one. Yep, and everyone's like, "Hey, Todd Howard did it. He even got Skyrim ported to Smash."
Oh my god. Who else then? Tony Hawk. There you go.
Yep.
Tony Hawk's son.
Oh, hell yeah.
Tony
That'd
Hawk
be too
would
good though.
Yeah,
Garfield.
Could we get like Triple H in there just to get a Triple H like amiibo?
They already have the crotch chop animation from Mario Super Strikers, so yeah, they're good.
That's true.
Yeah, why not? It's weird to think of at a time when they are no longer working on this game, and I feel like every time Sakurai is out there, like I feel bad. It's hard not to envision like that he's just chained to that desk doing those live streams with all the stories about him, passing out, going to the gym while they were working on it, and just all the stuff that he has done working on this game in particular, but the last couple probably. I wonder if this is his last ride for this franchise, and if someone else takes it on. I don't know.
I mean, all the other like old Nintendo stuff has had like the next generation come up and take it over, right? Like Mario and Zelda. Like even like it's like Zelda's on like its third generation of leadership. Like Eiji Aonuma's like moved up and is like kind of overseeing Fukushima, I think, or something like that. And then but that hasn't happened with Smash, and it feels like if this would have been in the time to be training that next generation. So hopefully there's someone ready to step up into those shoes.
Yeah, you really get the impression with Nintendo properties specifically that a lot of their decisions, and I think Japanese companies in general, maybe, but Nintendo maybe more than the others, that like these games need a champion internally to get the next sequel over the line, to promote that internally and make the case for it and get it green lit and all that stuff. And if there is no next generation for Smash, as much as it's been a big moneymaker, Nintendo has walked away from plenty of big franchises over the years, and I could see them doing that. Well, I don't think that will happen. I do think that they will. If Sakurai ends up kind of getting off the roller coaster now, I think they probably have someone else who would be totally psyched to make another Smash game in 4 or 5 years. But yeah, it's interesting. End of an era, potentially in a few different ways, but we'll see. I could also see a world where Sakurai gets roped back in, and it's like, oh, I'm here to do. Yeah, no, I'm making another one. Let's go.
I can't wait for the Kingdom Hearts community to be very upset that it's not going to be Sora.
Yeah,
wow,
no,
it's pretty sadistic.
I'm looking forward to it.
I think that's half the fun.
As a member of the community.
Smash DLC is that sadistic side of just like, all right, I just want to see who's going to be pissed this time.
Put Lady
Maybe I
D
feel
in.
differently
Everyone will
about
be
the game
happy.
more, but
Just
It's true.
put that big tall lady in there. They'll love it. Lap it up.
okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Put the scorpion in it.
Yeah. All right.
No,
Finally,
yeah.
someone's actually going to get hurt.
Put Lego Scorpion in it.
Yeah.
Let's see. This happened earlier today. Housemarque has been acquired by Sony Interactive
Yeah.
Entertainment. The quote from the let me get the quote from the
I feel like they're a dev that I always assumed sort of just was anyway, but
Right.
I guess now the ink is dried officially.
Yeah. I mean, their last handful of games have been really associated with published by Sony in some cases and
Yeah.
all that other stuff. Like, I mean, it's Ilari? Is that an I or an L? Anyway, pronouncing this wrong no matter what, but I believe it's Yari or Ilari Kutanen, who's one of the co-founders of Housemarque, gave a brief statement to the PlayStation blog. Saying, this gives our studio a clear future and a stable opportunity to continue delivering on gameplay-centric approaches while still experimenting with new methods of narrative delivery and pushing the boundaries of this modern art form. Housemarque feels like they were a studio trying to grow beyond the games that they had been known for, the Resoguns of the world and like that type of stuff. They went through that phase that they were putting out press releases saying like, that phase is over. We're working on this bigger thing now. And we got this
Working on
Eugene
Battle
Jarvis
Royale?
thing. Yeah, we're making a Battle Royale. We're doing this. Like it really felt like they were trying to stretch into something bigger, maybe that didn't even have Sony involved. And then that stuff kind of fell apart or morphed into, or something happened, and Returnal eventually was the...
I think it lined up with what Sony was doing. I think that's what happened was Sony was like, hey, yeah, cool. If you have anything bigger, now come call us. Come talk to us then. And they were like, hey, we need to make something bigger to survive, period. Maybe if we make one of our games, but we bring the camera down right behind the back like all the Sony games, maybe Sony would be interested. And Sony's like, yes, we are. Please, let's make that game together.
We love what you've done with your camera.
We'll send you the API for these triggers. Have you seen how cool these triggers are? Like,
Exactly. Yeah. I think it just lined up nicely for them.
Yeah, they probably just they probably sent Sony a demo of just like, feel this controller rumbling when the rain hits the suit. And they're like, oh yeah, here, how much money do you need? We're selling it for $70, by the way. And they're like, yeah, this seems like one of those kind of inevitable things. But I think the quote I picked, a stable opportunity, I think is one of the key phrases there that, you know, this is something that provides stability to a crew that, you know, like I said, they were trying to find their way in an increasingly weird market, and this seems like it's probably a good outcome.
And there's no way that Returnal 2 isn't like a really, really big deal. I think that's going to be a pretty big game when it comes out, or whatever they do next. They're going to learn from what they did, and I think they're going to capitalize on it. And Sony wants to kind of be there for it. I think it's going to work out for everybody.
I hope that this leads to them being on kind of a slightly different cadence too. I think you think of Housemarque as like they're the studio that's there at launch. They're the studio that's there with like the downloadable thing at launch, and then maybe another one later in the life cycle. But like this, I feel like Returnal really breaks them out of that loop, and I'd love to see them take another. I'd love to see them take another crack at Returnal. Yeah, like a sequel to that would be solid, because I think there's some stuff there that I wish was a little smoother. And I think if they took another stab at it, I think they could really make something like really, really amazing. Oh, whatever. Some people think Returnal is really amazing.
I think it's very good and could be amazing. Yeah.
They also strike me as a team that probably could benefit from like 20% more personnel. Like those games are now stretching a little bit. Like Returnal felt like a game that kind of was like stretching to be a big budget game, and perhaps that investment will help them get there. Because like, what were the games they put out? It was like Matterfall was one, and they had some other stuff as well. Like a lot of these games,
Next Machina,
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these you forget about them because, like you said, they were games that sort of like, I remember they kind of looked like they could be big budget, but then you played them and they're sort of like stripped out. They're clearly from smaller teams, so yeah, maybe that'll help them kind of reach that next step. Or I mean, Returnal was that first step, maybe, but maybe this helps them along that path.
Yeah, definitely. I think that could. Hopefully.
What was the deal with like little? Are you going to talk about the tweet?
Yeah, there's one little part of this. Another additional wrinkle is that the Japanese PlayStation account tweeted out something with a very similar graphic, but instead of the Housemarque logo, it was the Blue Point Games logo, and then it had
a picture of Demon Souls on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that they had some version of that graphic ready to go. That's
I would not be surprised given the shake-up that happened at Japan Studio as well, and that's another team that is basically tied into the Sony DNA at this stage. They've been Uncharted collection, and like that's they're another one that you go, oh, they're not owned by Sony,
right?
So
and there's a lot of reasons for these things to happen right now too. Sony has a lot of money in its game division. It has a lot of money in the bank. That money's going to be worth less next year because of inflation. They also are worried about the tax landscape changing as it was like more liberal leadership gets into place in key countries. They might have to pay more in taxes. Spend this money now so that it's you're actually going to get something back for it. And also these studios are looking around and saying, hey, we might never ever be worth this much again. Game studios are in high demand. Sure. Microsoft's acquiring a lot of companies, Tencent's acquiring a lot of companies, or at least putting a lot of money into places. And we are also selling a lot of games. I bet Returnal's numbers look really good on a PowerPoint saying, hey, we went from this to this. Look at that number. Look at that chart. Look how much that revenue went up. We're worth more now than we might ever be. So let's sell now. So I think everything's just kind of lining up on that side of things too.
Yeah, I mean, it really feels like there's some kind of feeding frenzy happening around just like mergers and acquisitions and all this sort of stuff these days. Tencent, obviously, fueling a big chunk of that. And there's more to come. Now, whether that's Sony, whether this Blue Point thing happens or not, like I don't know that that's necessarily. I mean, that stuff could just be a language barrier issue. It could be that like a simple mistake, or it could be. Put it this way, if it's not a simple mistake, then they probably would have just announced it by now, right? Because you don't get that graphic ready deliberately unless you've got the acquisition happening. Like, so whoever is making that graphic, if they're in the know that they need to make that graphic, then it already happened, or it's a simple mistake.
It's about to, or it's coming, or it's
there's no about to, because you don't tell the person making graphics for social.
Yeah,
hey, we're about to acquire a company.
No, I know,
because then it leaks and there's a bunch of other,
or maybe they,
there.
Sure, maybe they maybe it is a done deal and they're just sort of, spacing it out. Who knows? Like it could be anything.
So it's a good thing it was that and it wasn't Blue Box.
Yeah,
oh my God. Yeah, that's next week. But it's Microsoft. They're picking him up, and that's a Metal Gear game.
Yeah.
Putting it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird, though, for sure.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird timing. But it would not shock me if that is not actually happening. And it's ended up being some weird mistake or some game of telephone gone awry or something like that. But
some social producers, dark fantasy, getting out there into the ether.
My dreams folder.
Hey, here we go.
All right, Blue Point, welcome to the family.
Welcome to the family, fuckers. All right, I quit. Mass Effect. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Business Insider talked to Mac Walters, who's one of the project directors for Legendary Edition, and kind of one of the higher up faces of the Mass Effect franchise these days, and kind of just he was out there saying it's not a matter of if, but when Mass Effect gets turned into some kind of movie or TV series.
Is that a threat?
You remember they did a deal a while back with Legendary that never came to anything. Mac Walters kind of builds a case here in this interview, talking about how, hey, the Mass Effect franchise is built in a lot of ways like a television show, with each mission kind of going off onto its side story with its A plots and B plots and that sort of stuff, and that type of long form storytelling. The quote here is